Hey, everybody. Welcome to part one of this small group experience where we're talking about sacred pathways. If you were here during the weekend service and already heard the message, you have a little bit of an idea of where we're going, or maybe you've watched it online since that point. But basically, the entire premise of this series is that you've been invited to draw near to God. No matter what your church background is, no matter what what you have or what you haven't done, what you've failed to do, we've all been invited to draw near to God, and there are certain pathways that we all kind of draw near to God on. That there's only one way to the Father through Jesus Christ, His Son, but on that way to the Father, on that path to the Father, there are multiple expressions of how people draw near to God. So part of the reason we're doing this series is, number one, so you don't feel inferior or superior to people who have different pathways than you. And number two, as we talk about the specifics in the coming weeks, in small group time and on the weekends, we want you to know what your specific pathway is so you can lean into that, right? And so I didn't spend any time in the message talking about the specific 9 pathways that Gary Thomas talks about in his book. So this is a little bit of bonus content for those of you who are in a group. But I also want to just use these as the launching point for your group time today. Okay, so I want to walk through these real quick, and then you guys can talk about this amongst yourself. So here are the 9 different pathways. Number one is the naturalist. The naturalist. These are people who draw near to God in nature. Okay? They read their Bible, they pray, they go to church, but when they get outside and spend time in nature, it's like Jesus on steroids. We all appreciate, we all like a good sunset, but the naturalist is drawn to worship through a sunset or through a hike or going into the mountains or, going down by the river. They're drawn to God through nature. So that's the naturalist. The second is the sensate, okay? The sensate. Now, when I first heard this, I thought we were talking about some kind of, kung fu or something, but it's not sensei, it's sensate. These are people who draw near to God through their senses. So sound, sight, touch, smell, just all the different senses that energizes them to draw near to God. It could be inside, it could be outside. Think these are the people who draw near to God in an art studio. There's something about engaging their senses that draws them to God. So that's the sensate. The third is the traditionalist. This is the person who connects with God through the past, the predictable, through what's always been, through the traditions of the church. They love to read other people's prayers because they think, here's a prayer that's been prayed by men and women for hundreds, if not thousands of years, and that draws them towards God. These are the people that love to walk into a church and see a cross. They love to see a big wooden communion table up front that says, "Do this in remembrance of me." It just something about those things that draws them into a connection with God. There's nothing wrong with those things. It's just that's their pathway. They want to see those things that connect us to the past, and that helps them draw near to God. God's wired some of you that way, and you might not necessarily like our church as much as you may like another church, but you're still here anyway. So that's the traditionals. The fourth pathway is the ascetics. The ascetics. These are people who draw near to God in silence and simplicity. These are individuals who, if they could figure out a way to support their family by being a monk, they would, because they like it They like simple, spaces with no. It's just simple, and they like it to be quiet. That's the ascetic. All right. The fifth pathway is the activists. The activists, these are people who connect with God by bringing about social change. And I'm so grateful for people like this. They feel close to God when they're organizing and strategically bringing about visible, concrete change in our world. And I reference churches like that in the message. There are lots of churches like that, lots of people like that in this world. They love the story of Jesus cleansing the temple, right? That's like one of their favorite Bible stories. That's the activists. The sixth pathway is the caregivers. The caregivers. These people are close to the activists, but they draw near to God by caring for others. They see a need. They see needy people, people who can't do something for themselves, and they jump in and they take care of that need. It's how they're wired. Maybe that's what they saw growing up. They're energized when they see and meet needs. These people love Matthew 25, where Jesus talks about, taking care of the hungry and the naked and those in prison. They're all about Matthew 25. That's the caregivers. The seventh pathway is the enthusiasts. Okay, these are God's cheerleaders. They're the ones with both hands held high during worship when we sing together on Sunday. They don't just sing about making a joyful noise to the Lord. They actually make a joyful noise to the Lord. Okay, and all the ascetics are going shh, and the enthusiasts they just think all the ascetics need Jesus, right? They see the guy standing during worship with his hands in his pockets, not singing, and they think, Lord, I just want to pray for him right now. He probably doesn't know you, right? That's the enthusiasts. If you are an enthusiast, you are a cheerleader for Jesus, right? That's the enthusiasts. The eighth pathway is the contemplatives. These are people who draw near to God through personal adoration and heartfelt devotion. They love to be with God. They love to journal their thoughts. It's sitting at the feet of Jesus through his word, and it's praying, and it's journaling, and it's back, and it's forth. It's kind of like the ascetics, but the contemplatives probably have worship music playing in the background while they're doing that. They love the story of Mary, who sat at the feet of Jesus while Martha was off kind of taking care of stuff. That's where they think we should be, at the feet of Jesus. You can tell a contemplative because oftentimes they'll hear truth and they'll go like this. Oh yeah. They're the kind of Christians that make non-Christians think that all Christians moo. Right? It's like, yes, that's so rich. That's the contemplative, right? And then the last one is the intellectuals. These people draw near to God through their minds, and this is the one where I relate to the most. I love to sing. I love to gather together as a community on the weekends, but my most heartfelt moments of worship is when I discover a new truth about God. It just makes me emotional. I want to have a relationship with Jesus, but I'm not really looking for the warm fuzzy. I'm looking for a new insight. I'm looking for a new principle, a new truth. I love C.S. Lewis. I love Francis Schaeffer. I love reading what old dead guys say about God. I want it all. I want it all right here. I want it to affect me here. But I draw near to God through my mind, and when I do, I learn something new, and it just draws me toward God. The intellectuals are the people who have already ordered the book, right? Because they want to read. They want to learn something new about God. So that's the 9 different pathways Gary Thomas explains more about in his book. I hope that's helpful for you, for those of you who are going to read the book and those of you who aren't going to read the book. All of you, some of you have taken the assessment already. Some of you will take it sometime this week. But I hope that's helpful for you, for us moving forward in this series, and even more in the years to come as you continue to draw near to God. So have a great time together, and we'll see you next week.